Well, now it's time to start again the conference, and I would like to invite Michaela, Stefan, and Andreas Roth to join me. And it's my pleasure to give you those two certificates. And for you, thank you, and for you.
Thank you very much.
And we have.
Okay, what do you want us to read?
We're here. Sorry.
Thank you.
And this is yours.
Thank you so much. And it's my pleasure to chair this session and to start by introducing the first speaker of this session with Dr. Andreas Roth from University of Free State in South Africa.
It's okay. I'm not using. I will not use it. It's okay. So thanks for the introduction, and also thank you to the organizers for inviting me. I am from South Africa, as you've heard, and I hope I will be able to tell you a few interesting things about carbon dioxide capturing, but specifically about detailed reaction mechanisms associated with it. So this is a horrible slide. I have a few horrible slides, so don't try to read it as such, but just note the world global emissions is something like 37,000 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year. Now, what is that in real terms? For those of you that know South Africa, probably know Cape Town, and you can see Table Mountain there in the So I would like to compare Table Mountain with the amount of carbon dioxide. So if you look at it a little bit from the other side, that is basically the central part of Table Mountain, and you'll see it's about 3 kilometers and 1 kilometer high and 1 kilometer deep, only the central. So that represents about 3 cubic kilometers. And if you convert carbon dioxide in the solid form to the amount of volume that you produce, it's basically equivalent to 8 Table Mountains. So you can make a mountain of solid carbon dioxide 8 kilometers high, basically. So that's a lot of carbon dioxide. But also to note, if you look at 8 billion people in the world, they breathe out basically about 1 gigaton of carbon dioxide per year. So 1 Table Mountain per year. If they are sleeping, if they are running around, then they breathe out 3 Table Mountains. So there's a message for us, please don't be too active. Okay, we need to find ways to complement nature's effort to harvest carbon dioxide. And one that I would like to discuss today is to make cyclocarbonates or polycarbonates. I will specifically focus on cyclocarbonates. So please note it is a very, very small amount, but at least it is basically using carbon dioxide in a way to produce then some useful chemicals. Okay, so indeed we need to supplement nature's efforts to reduce carbon dioxide because nature can only cope with about 50% of that. So while I'm on South African topic, I want to tell you about the crystallization acid mechanism. It is basically in succulents, and I just look outside the excellent golden barrel cacti that are sitting here outside. They basically, under stress conditions, work on the CAN mechanism, where they basically store the carbon dioxide inside at night, and then during the day they to useful oxygen. And these are some of the very nice cacti that we find in South Africa in the desert. This one is called the Alopelansi. They live about for 300 years, but they are dying out dramatically because there's a change in climate. They are fantastic plants. You see their flowers. There are about 500 species in South Africa. Here is a very big one called the old big one that you can find in the Northern Cape. This is the diameter of this one is about 5 meters. So if two of you will join it like that, then that is as big as the distance. Okay, but getting to what I want to discuss, I want to tell you about the general catalytic mechanism, so homogeneous catalysis of the carbon capture by using epoxides. There are two ways of proceeding here. In the first step, you basically just form the metal carbonate, and then this metal carbonate can basically form ring closure, make ring closure to form the cyclocarbonate, or it can basically make polycarbonates can be used as plastics and so on and so on. So this is what a table is known in literature, so it's a horrible table again, but I want you to note that there is some turnover numbers, turnover frequency, something like around 2,000 to 3,000. I will speak again a little bit about that later. So this is what I want to show you, an extremely simple process, I think, but is it as simple as it's pointed here? So Sean Redgard was a student of mine, and this is just a colleague of mine. I'd like to recognize them basically also. So how do you do detailed kinetic reaction mechanism? Because many people talk about mechanisms and they talk about some kinetics, but there's a difference in terms of just doing some kinetics and doing a detailed reaction mechanism aspect. Well, for this reaction, you basically systematically vary things. And here I've indicated some things that you need to vary to actually have a detailed reaction mechanism. So you can see there's a lot of things that one need to basically vary. Okay, how did we clean balloons that you would load with a specific amount of carbon dioxide? You know what the pressure basically is, so you can calculate exactly the amount of carbon dioxide in there, and then your cyclocarbonate that you stir there at the bottom. And by shrinking this balloon, you can calculate how much carbon dioxide is used up, and that should correlate with what you measure inside this little flask here that we would withdraw samples from. Okay, so what did we do? We basically have the starting epichlorohydrin, and then this is converted by carbon dioxide insertion to the actual cyclocarbonate. So by proton NMR, you can fantastically see how the process basically proceeds. Just noisy spectra that's taken in the process of the reaction happening. And this is what the final product looks like, the starting product. So you just integrate the integral and then determine the kinetics of it. Works very nicely, but it's very expensive because every experiment is an NMR experiment. So here is illustrated the formation with time of the cyclocarbonate. And this is just to illustrate a little bit the effect of added acid to the system. So you can see without any acid added, the reaction is extremely slow. With added acid, the reaction is quite significant. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with kinetics and more detailed kinetics, so it's typically very nicely first order reactions that takes place. So one can measure it basically very, very easily. Here's the logarithmic plot. Here is the basic plot that shows it's the different effects of a specific and added. Okay, you systematically all the parameters concerned. And I'm not going to bore you with how we did it. Of course, it will take me 1 hour to do it, but this is just to illustrate the yellow parts that are there. So going from the order of the reaction, vary carbon dioxide, vary the inorganic co-catalyst, varying metal catalyst, varying acids, different selected starting compounds. So we were able to successfully do this. And here are some of the basic results shown. So when you optimize the iodide, maybe I should just quickly run back to this what I forgot. You basically very acid dependent, it is iodide dependent, it's metal complex dependent, and then you have various other relative concentrations that you have to take into account. So it's very clear. Here is shown some 4 effects. This is typically the influence on the iodide, the co-catalyst. Here is where you optimize the basic acid. Here is where you optimize carbon dioxide mixture. This is the total usage of carbon dioxide. So you can really clinically analyze the whole experiment. So one can identify the catalytic cycle. What's important here is that there are 4 definite equations, steps that one can identify. From the initial coordination actually to the acid, then opening of the ring, then closing the ring, then basically splitting out of cycle. The rate determining step is basically considered that step. And this is then what you end up with a rate law. So this is a nightmare of even for me as an inorganic chemist, and I guess for many of you it's also a nightmare. What I want here, what we subordinate basically exactly the same as the disappearance of your starting material. So it's a very nice process, but it depends on many different aspects here. This is what I want to really convey to you, that when one does a detailed reaction mechanism, you need to take all aspects into account, which is very important. So that is the basic rate law. Here I've got the same figures again, and just to say that this is the simplified version of the equation that I've shown you, which exactly predicts what the version in terms of carbon dioxide and then the total utilization of CO2. How am I doing with time? Still have 5 minutes, I guess. Okay. So again, a very horrible table that I have to show you, I can show you here. So many variations. This is not all the variation that we basically have done here, but here you will see over numbers, and that's what I want to come down to. And if I simplify the results a little bit, you see the turnover numbers and the turnover frequency. It's actually horrible. Only 8, the turnover number. But still, it proves it's catalytic because you at least generate 8 molecules of your cyclocarbonate. But if I get to this horrible table that I showed you in the beginning, I said, please remember it's around 3,000. So this is the literature value, around 3,000. But what is important here? This is done at 99 or 90 degrees at 10 bar carbon dioxide. Our kinetics have been done at 25 degrees, 1 bar. So if you extrapolate our kinetics using our rate law, then you come to turnover numbers of around 10,000. So it's at least as good or as better as the literature value that we basically report. It's not the ideal, obviously. So after 24 hours, you can at least get 1,000 or 10,000 molecules of cyclocarbonate. Okay. So my conclusions are, again, horrible conclusions here. This I didn't mention. We added basically platinum or palladium catalyst, and we found really no effect. So it turns out that the metal catalyst contribution at the concentrations that we use were really not effective. It was basically the co-catalyst, the iodide, that was primarily responsible for the action. But we'll have to do obviously quite a lot of experiments in future. But here I can at least brag is to say that what we found in terms of our process or our kinetic rate law, we could, although it's very similar to the literature procedure, it's at least 4 times better. So you now have to ask the question, did the guys in literature optimize it? And if they